So to round up the other side of the enemies of our freedom, we went to 2 Peter, and actually he has more to say about this kind of Christian, what would we call it, liberalism, lawlessness. Yeah, we could call all of those things. But let me just read 2 Peter 2:10 about these people. Presumptuous are they, self-willed. They are not afraid to speak evil of dignities. This is not necessarily talking about people in government, but about angels, about demonic powers, about actually angels, about ministers of Christ on earth, evangelists, pastors, so they are not afraid to speak evil of dignities, whereas angels, which are greater in power and might, bring not railing accusation against them before the Lord. So even angels don't dare, but these people, these brethren, false brethren who have come in, they freely do this, boldly do this. But these, as natural brute beasts, made to be taken and destroyed, speak evil of the things that they understand not, and shall utterly perish in their own corruption. And in closing, verse 13, and shall receive the reward of unrighteousness. So this is the reason we are not to be drawn by this false promise of liberty that is in this Christian lawlessness idea, where they say things like, there is no such thing as sin, there is no such thing as, I don't even know what, like all sin nature, you cannot sin, whatever you do is not sin, weird teachings. Anyways, this is not giving you anything. These verses very clearly and painfully describe this. Peter here is actually making the point, just as Paul made the point in Galatians, if you remember. Paul made the point in Galatians that legalism is as bad as it gets in the Christian church. And Peter here is making the point that lawlessness and having the teaching that following God in sin is okay somehow, that is as bad as it gets in the Christian church. So both points are very powerful points to make, because legalism, of course, gives no freedom whatsoever. That's pretty obvious, but it promises to deal with guilt, but of course it doesn't. It promises to deal with bad behavior, but it cannot. It doesn't have the power. It promises to deal with sin, but it cannot deal with sin. It just doesn't work. The law could never achieve this, of course, and legalism cannot achieve dealing with sin, no matter our resolve. And then these promises to quote-unquote freedom, they are promising the freedom which is in fact slavery. It's a slavery to sin. So this is a very important point. These are both enemies of the freedom that we hear about in Galatians 5:1. And in every age of Christianity, these two extremes are there. And sadly, some believers will be fooled into believing that they have to take either camp, and that's going to give them the freedom that they desire in Christ, because many times believers do not realize that there is another way, not between them. There is nothing between them. There is nothing among them that is healthy. There is an entirely different path to follow to actually stick to our Christian freedom, and I hope we can get to that one of these days. But until then, and I know these are heavy-duty verses for the morning, but still I recommend them for your edification and for your meditation, and God will minister to you through them. I'm sure of that. God bless your day.